Hello, welcome back to the Hitch to the Stitch podcast. I'm Zoe. I am an engineer that lives here in Melbourne, Australia, and I like to talk about all the crafty things that I get up to. Most of that is knitting at the moment, but I also do sewing, ceramics. I've got a cross stitch project here, so that's what I'll be discussing through today. I've got two finished objects, one of which I'm wearing, but I'm not sure if it's finished. And you can see the stitch mark is still on here. I'll explain that. 4 whips, and I don't usually have too many acquisitions, but I've got, because I'm trying to work my way through my stash yarn, but I've got 4 acquisitions for some pretty particular projects. Some of them being a design, like my own sort of design. I'm wanting to get into making a few things that I envision in my head, but I don't see out there, so I have a few plans of my own. Anyway, I will get into it. I've just come back from a holiday in Malaysia, which was really nice. We spent 3 days in Penang and 3 in Kuala Lumpur, and it was a really great holiday. I really recommend going. I've got all these videos that I took, so I might sum them up, make them into a reel to just summarize the trip. It'll be nice for me and my partner to see it that way too. I'd say it's a very artistic feeling, especially in Penang. The tiles everywhere are super beautiful, and there's lots of street art. I didn't get much crafting done then. I did start one of my projects on the plane, and that's about all I did because we were pretty much go exploring. Yeah, but without further ado, I will get into my first finished object. This is the Helia sweater by Joanna Ang. The reason why I say it's not finished, maybe I'll get up and show you a bit here, is I haven't blocked it yet. I think that's going to be, it'll look quite different once it's blocked, but my sleeves are quite different. This one is a bit wider than this one, and the lengths are also a bit different. I didn't follow the pattern. I just kind of realized that I wasn't following the pattern on one of the sleeves. I think that was this first one, and then I tried to match the second sleeve to the first one by reading what I've done, and I didn't do it well. So my question is whether I should just block it and see how it looks, or also just see how it grows. I might block it first, but I'm thinking that I want to rip back on both sleeves up to here and try and go back to what the pattern says for both of them and redo half of each sleeve. I was really excited to have this finished, and it's just not seeming finished. But yeah, what do you think? Is it severe enough? I think it probably is severe enough that it warrants a redo. But the beautiful thing about this pattern is the texture on the sleeves, and I really like this knit through the black loop, it's called twisted rib, on the neckline and on the sleeve. I actually really like the way twisted rib looks. I also think it can look a little bit neater than just 1x1 rib. Anyway, that is where I'm up to. Let me know your thoughts. If I should rip back, I think I need to. That's a pretty bad difference that we can see there. So I'm just gonna go redo some of it. I knit this in Knitting for Olive. I think it's just the 4-ply merino, and a special lace weight yarn from, I got it in Venice. I do have the details somewhere. I'll see if I can put them in the description box. But yeah, I think it makes a really beautiful fabric. And mostly of all, I just love the detail on the sleeves. So that is finished object 1. Finished object 2 is this pair of socks. So these are the Emma socks by Yucca. and they've got this gorgeous cable pattern all the way through. So on the back it's a 2x1 rib, and here it's knit toe up as well, and I actually really liked that construction method. I think I did speak about this in my last podcast, so I'll just go quickly through this, but it means that you get to actually, I don't know, I feel like the foot, it's a little bit easier to judge where to stop it, and also once you get to the ankle, you can kind of choose how long you want the leg to be, because you've already got the foot knit. And I got a little bit lazy and wanted them quite short because I just wanted to be over the project, but I actually really like the short socks. I might do more short socks. I've got a fair bit left of the yarn now because of that, but the pattern is just really beautiful, and it's actually quite easy to memorize. I was surprised at how quickly I picked up, oh, you just do this, and then I read my own work and then continued the pattern, so I didn't need to keep referencing the document anymore. And it's got this nice twisty cable here, some more twisted rib, and there are some instances where I didn't do it quite well, and see here it's a little bit more sloping, and then here rather than doing one more or two more rows without going back in, I just kind of messed up, but I don't really mind. It's not something that you would notice, only I'll notice it. And for those types of things, I don't think it's that important to go back and fix. For this type of thing, I think it probably is warranted. So those are the Yucca socks the Emma socks by Yucca. And Yucca, the designer, she has a lot of super beautiful sock patterns, and I'd really recommend checking her out. Yeah, that is finished object number 2. So I'll go into my whips, and first, just because I'm excited about it, I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talk about the one that already has a pattern first. And I'm knitting again, because I made this as a present once, but I wanted one myself. It's the Triceratops dinosaur hat, and I've just printed out the patterns here. So it has a, what's it called? It has the pattern diagrams. I won't show much of it, but yeah, this is the hat that I'm making, and I kind of, okay, so I started already one version, and I have a very small head, so I just thought, okay, I'll make size small, even though it's a children's hat, because they generally, when a hat fits me, it's generally like kids age 4 to 8 or something like that. Anyway, so I started making the smallest size, and I think my tension, especially it's mainly along the colorwork section. It's too tight to properly fit around my head, and if I stretch this out, you can see that it kind of distorts the pattern as well. So I have restarted, and this is, yeah, so I just chopped everything off here, and I've started again. I'm just about to, there's like, so you knit 7 centimeters, and then you will purl one row, so that becomes your fold line, and then you'll go up into the colorwork section. So I'm just about to head back into the colorwork section. I just got to do the purl row, and I'm now put on the largest size because I don't want any distortion of the pattern. So even if it's a little bit loose, I think for the colorwork section it will be fine, and it won't distort the pattern then. So that is the first whip, and something that I've been working on pretty consistently for the 2 days now. The next 2 are 2 of my own designs. One is on this cashmere yarn, and I'm kind of just wanting a loose, so I've made a few different swatches, and what I kind of intend for the pattern is to have 3 different options. I don't know if it's just going to be a pattern just for me, or if I will make it up at some point, but I wanted to do kind of a couple different designs, and so I've settled on, did more up the top, then I shortened the spacing between them, and the last one I've done is without anything in the center, which is how I've started knitting it. I chose that design. So this is the back at the moment, and I have just started my next pointel or 4-leaf clover stitch, and this is all I'm up to at the moment, so you won't really get to see, but it's kind of going to be a bit more of a relaxed cashmere t-shirt is the idea. I've seen some designers, or there was one particularly from a designer called Kate that I really liked the look of, and I've been wanting to knit something or find a pattern that's like that for a really long time, but nothing's really caught my eye, and so I kind of want to make this with a couple, maybe even a couple different versions for myself, where we've got the pointel one, plain one without any patterns here, and one where every second has a cable. So that is the concept at the moment. Something that I have been working on is I noticed that when I go from my knit to pearls, I get this loose stitch here in the transition. And so I was looking up how to minimize that, and I think towards the end of my work at the moment, you can see it tightens up. So this was worse here, and then I started implementing a new technique, and you can see it actually kind of fixes the problem almost entirely by the time we get down here. And what I did was, I'm an English style knitter, so when I was transitioning from knit to purl, instead of going around the needle that way, I went the other way. And what that does is it tightens up, or it means that there's less yarn consumed. I'll link the tutorial that I used in the description box, because I thought that that was a really good explanation, but it consumes less yarn for when you do that wrap, just for the purl that comes off of a knit stitch. Now what that does is it also puts the stitch, it twists the stitch so that when you're going along the back side, you've got to just knit through the back loop to correct the stitch placements there. But it works really well, and I think it's fixed up my issue. And another method that you can do is, after you've purled and put it onto the other needle, you can take the yarn back into the knit position, pull a little bit, and then bring it back over to do the next purl. And that will also help tighten up or remove that loose bit of yarn. So that's been actually a really effective technique. I'm going to use it on a lot of my projects, because I find that this happens pretty much all the time for me. So now I've just learned something new I can implement for all future work. So this is my first design. The second one I have, and it's also on, sorry, I'll just tell you, it's 3.25mm needles, and this cashmere yarn, it feels quite beautiful. I got it off of like a Chinese supplier, Joanna Ang or something like that. I think it was a Chinese supplier, and it was just like a lot cheaper cashmere yarn. So I've had this for a while, and I use it, so I combine this with, they sent this at the same time, it's like a stabilizing cashmere thread, and I hold these two together, and I think it's so that this will last longer and it won't stretch out. I really like this idea. I'd be interested, maybe after I finish this project, I'll make something small with just this and see if the wear is different. I think it will be. I think this, having a stabilizing thread, is a really good idea for this. So, and I watched a video the other day, because I'm thinking, oh, I want to make more of these shirts, and I'd like them in cashmere. I feel like to have something like a nice little t-shirt, super luxurious, it'd be nice to have it in a drapey cashmere. But the cashmere is obviously super expensive. And so I watched a video I found her recently. She does amazing videos. They're very informative, and she does a lot of comparison videos, like, is this pattern worth it, or can you just make something the same, like with your own skill and knowledge of knitting? And she'll do a lot of really good informative videos. Anyway, this particular one, because it's something that I've been thinking about as well, is how can I source dead stock yarn or cheaper cashmere yarn? And so one of those methods is the dead stock yarn. It's difficult to find where to get it, and what was confusing to me when I did find this sort of stuff is converting the industrial measurements into something that's more usable for a home knitter. I have researched this recently, so I might make a quick video explaining how to interpret this. But so she showed this dead stock luxury yarn that comes from the best producers. Like Laura Piana is a designer, but they're actually a big woolen mill, and they'll supply the fabric or the yarn to Chanel, Gucci, like all those top designer brands. I think either Brunello Cucinelli used one of these brands, or they are a mill themselves as well, and there's another mill called Carpaccio, something like this. Anyway, so what they've got to have is a certain amount of stock, so that when a brand like Chanel comes to them and says, we want this type of yarn for our spring summer campaign, they've got to have a certain amount already ready to go so that they can fulfill that order. And what it means is that maybe I was explaining this to my partner yesterday, and he's like, I don't get it. I'm like, it's quite simple. You got 10 apples, Chanel wants 8 apples, you got 2 apples left. What do you do with those 2 apples? Anyway, so then that yarn is then potentially sold to suppliers that can then sell it in smaller quantities to smaller producers, or maybe even to home knitters. Anyway, it's there, and the yarn is generally coated with a particular type of machine oil or something, so you need to wash the yarn prior to use, because it does change a fair bit. But these yarns are like the best quality yarns you can get. Anyway, I'll let her explain all that. She's got a really great video about it. I'll link it in the description box, and go check it out if you're interested. But I think that's the next sort of thing that I want to look into when I'm sourcing yarns, especially cashmere or more luxurious yarns. And another option is always buying a jumper secondhand that's cashmere and unraveling it and using it, especially if it's got like mole holes or something in it that makes it, sorry, mole holes, moth holes in the fabric. People aren't going to want that, but for knitters it's a great opportunity to get something a little bit cheaper and then just unravel it ourselves. Anyway, that's a little bit of a tangent, but I will show you my second design. This is quite a large swatch that I made for this one, and this is the swatch I've made. So this is pearls, and then this is a big cable, and I'm wanting this cable to be sort of down the front, just as like an accent. And yeah, that's what I have so far. I really do want to get into this. I think I might prioritize this one a little bit more over this one, just because it's winter here in Australia, so I feel like I would like this. I've got quite a lot of projects going on at the moment, but the yarn that I've used for it, and this is where I've got some of my acquisitions, so I'll just bring this one in at the moment. I got 2 yarns to make 2 different versions of this sweater that I have in mind, in case the first one is a bit wonky. But this is called Loch Lomond by BC Garn. It is 150 meters per 50 grams. I think this is a I'm guessing this is a 50-gram skein then. And the color is color 19, great. But it's like this brown with flecks of, maybe, can you see the orange specks in there? And it's got, yeah, maybe a few other little colors, but I'd say the majority is that orange, the little orange pops. You can see it, there's a good pop on the back there. And yeah, so I got that yarn, and I'll bring in my second acquisition now then. I also got this yarn to make a similar style, and I might change the cable that goes on the front or change the design up a little bit. But this is called Tweed Marl by Studio Donegal. This is worsted weight. I think this one is also then probably a worsted weight. This is color 9593, and it is, I'm just checking how much. This one is 28 or 18 stitches by 28 rows gauge, and then this one, does this one have the gauge? It doesn't have the gauge listed on here, but I think they're very similar gauge yarns, and it's showing up quite bright on camera, but I'd say it's a little bit more muted, a muted greeny yellow, and it's got lots of great colors flecked in there. And again, because it's a bit more simple, it's not color changing, but it has the tweedy look. I think for both of these, it just gives a little bit more interest to the jumper that I'm planning on making. So I might go with a bit more of a tree inspired cable to make this one. I don't know, this one makes me think of nature. Yeah, so that is acquisition 2 as part of this one. The other, before I go into my other acquisitions, I got gifted for Christmas from my dad and his partner a cross stitch, and I have been loving it, and this is the result of many hours and it's just not much to show, and you can see how big this is going to be, but I think it's going to be really beautiful, and I'll get the photo of what it should be for you. This is the finished product, and I have done, as you can see, only a very small amount there, and the instructions are as so on the back, in terms of you've got you know, it'll tell you which number color to use, and maybe you hold 2 different colors together for certain bits, and like there's a green here where I've held 2 different greens together, and it has all the instructions there for you. Lots of threads that are really beautiful. They have a great sheen. It's very nice quality, and I have really liked it, but it's probably going to be something that I make over the course of years. It's very slow progress, but it is very satisfying. This is 1/2 of the instructions, and if you can see closely, it has symbols as well as colors that tell you which bit of the instructions to be using. And then I think this is the other side, and mostly what I've started on is this bit here, and that's all that I've done, and I put in a good bit of time on that one. I would recommend, if you're starting cross stitch or interested, maybe going for a slightly smaller one, but at the same time, I don't know, go big or go home. It's up to you. This is a lot of work, and it's going to take years, but it is still quite satisfying. I'm really excited for seeing it develop, seeing the picture come to life. Anyway, that is my last whip that I've been working on in the past month. The other whips that I have that have been a bit dormant, I'm not going to show today. So I'll just go through the last 2 acquisitions I have. first one is similar to the others. It is also a Loch Lomond. This is colour 15. It's like this grey, tweedy, it's got dark grey with a flecks of light grey throughout it. It's showing up a little bit lighter than it is on camera. It's a bit darker. And this is to make my partner another jumper. So he chose this colour. He wanted a grey jumper and I gave him all these different options and this is the one he chose. It's 100% organic wool. And we haven't decided on a pattern yet. I know what he likes. He doesn't like something that's too complex. He does not like honeycomb stitch. So I wanted to do like a really nice cabled, you know, jumper. Maybe the one from Petite Knit. There's a particular sweater that with a quarter zip that I was really interested in making him. But he doesn't want that because he doesn't like part of the pattern. Anyway, so he's kind of interested in me making up something specifically for him and designing something for him. I'm not sure if it'll take too long and is too ambitious with 2 other designs currently, that it just takes a lot more mental energy, I guess, to be thinking about how to design something than just following a nice pattern that tells you exactly how to go. So there are a few patterns that we have narrowed down to that he quite likes, but yeah, this is not a work in progress yet, but it should be soon. Yeah, anyway, I've got a sweater's quantity of this. The last one I have, I'm actually really excited about. It is this beautiful set of, what are they? They are, I think the information's in the box, but this is, yeah, from Manos del Uruguay, which is really nice. It's a women's cooperative from, actually I think they have an explanation here. The Hands of Uruguay is a non-profit organization which assembles women in cooperatives throughout the countryside of Uruguay. The aim of the organization is to bring economic and social opportunities to rural women. And my partner is super into cooperatives and that type of structure, so he loves this. This is, it has the location, which I'm not sure how to read that. Handwriting is difficult to read, and it has the specific artisan that made this one. Anyway, it is 70% merino wool and 30% silk. There's approximately 450 meters per 100 grams, and each of these I think is a 25 gram, I believe it's 25 grams each. And the colors are just exquisite. You can see there. Anyway, the plan for this is my best friend is, his wife is pregnant, so they're going to have a baby, and I want to make them a little baby outfit. So it's a little baby girl, we've found out. And I have this specific, I bought this from Moritz & Sons in Melbourne, which is a great yarn store, and they had a little baby set knit up in this particular yarn, and this yarn I've been looking at for ages, wanting to make something with, but I didn't know what with such small quantities, and it is very expensive yarn, so I didn't want to get it for something that I didn't know how it would turn out. And there was this gorgeous, I'll put a photo in here, it was a gorgeous little outfit, and I'll make exactly that. So I'll find the patterns online, I checked, you can get them, and then I will make them a little baby outfit. So that is my last acquisition. Yeah, and there was also something else I've been thinking about recently. I just feel like I need to slow down, and what I mean by that is not have so much, I don't know, I feel like my brain is getting a little bit messed up by the phone and quick content. I don't feel like my attention span is as good anymore. I'm watching a lot more TV shows, barely any movies, because I don't want to sit there through a whole movie, or I get distracted. I pick up my phone during. Even my knitting time is getting a little bit more distracted, or this past weekend I felt bored, and I don't often feel bored. I usually have plenty of things that I can do. I'm very good at entertaining myself, but I just wasn't, I've been getting bored, and I think it is due to Instagram use, YouTube Reel use, and YouTube Reels and Instagram Reels, they're all well and good when you start with the content that you really want to see, like maybe it's another maker making something, or a little bit of learning something interesting, information, and then I find that I can go down a rabbit hole, spend an hour and a half going through reels and feeling my mood get worse and worse and worse. The content starts to become not just worse or less interesting, but just like icky feeling. Anyway, so I think I need to have a bit of a different step change. I bought a cello recently. I've started to teach myself cello, and I've got a teacher that I go to on Sundays. So today, and it's not easy. It takes a lot of patience. I don't sound very good, but it's my favorite. I've always loved this instrument. And I decided, look, it's going to be a good break from when I get home from work, disconnect from work, start the rest of my night with, or just have something slower and nicer, but also challenging for my brain to get into. So I have a cello, it's just sitting over there, and I want to get into reading a bit more again. I have this, I'm listening to an audiobook at the moment. It's called Assyria, The Rise and Fall of the World's First Empire by Eckhart Fromm. That's okay. I don't know, as an audiobook, maybe it's quite dense, and there's lots of names and dates, and there's sometimes some really good historical writers, and I think he's good in terms of it's great research, great information, but it's just not as captivating. A really good writer that writes more non-fiction or even fiction, like, is Stephen Fry. Like, he's a really good example of mythology writing. Like, his mythos is amazing. It is the most entertaining audiobook to listen to. He's also the voice for it. It's brilliant. He has such a knack for storytelling, and he's done, I think, a few more actual non-fiction, because mythos is obviously, it's about mythology. It's not non-fiction, but he really captures the audience. He has a fun way of storytelling. This one, I would say, is a bit more dry. Anyway, I have a friend that is Iraqi, and he's Assyrian by background, so I thought it would be interesting to learn about. But in terms of books that are captivating me a little bit more, I've started reading this. There Are Rivers in the Sky by Olive Merino. I have only just started it. You can see I'm only a couple pages in, just around here. But the writing is so beautiful. Like, at the start, there's a story about, or like it's talking about from the perspective of a raindrop, and the raindrop fell through the sky, and it's got the raindrop's perspective, and it's actually funny, it starts with one of the most famous Assyrian rulers. That's pure coincidence, but it starts with him at some point, and the raindrop falls onto his head, and the raindrop's like quivering in fright at the room that he walks into, and it's really, really beautifully written, and so I can't wait to read this more. Yeah, number 1, Raindrop, and it's just really cute. Or maybe I'll just read a little bit. It's an early summer afternoon in Nineveh, the sky swollen with impending rain. A strange sullen silence has settled on the city. The birds have not sung since the dawn. The butterflies and dragonflies have gone into hiding. The frogs have abandoned their breeding grounds. The geese have fallen quiet, sensing danger. Even the sheep have been muted, urinating frequently, overcome by fear. The air smells different, a sharp, salty scent. And it's just beautiful. I don't know. The way it's written is really, I think, yeah, it's just beautifully done. I'm going on too much about this. Anyway, I want to have a bit more of a step change and focus on the slower things. I was watching also YouTube or things on 2x speed, and I'm going to make that no-go anymore. If I'm watching something, I'll just watch it on the 1x speed and just reset my brain a little bit. If you've had that sort of experience, let me know in the comments. I do really enjoy when people comment. It makes me feel like I'm not just here talking alone. And yeah, I thank you for watching my podcast today, and I wish you all a good weekend, whenever you're watching this. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye now.